No, just this guy.
Wow. That is not good.
Yeah, that.
Hey,
Yeah.
I sort of brought it up when I talked about him and
He's not
Pritchard's
even
production.
close right now on his shots. None of them.
Yeah.
He almost airballed a
Even the
floater.
layups.
He almost airballed
Yes,
a floater from
yeah.
4 feet.
Yeah, I saw that.
I get it. Basketball's about more than shooting. I don't need lectures. We get it. It's great. He plays good defense. He does a lot of little things well. Holy wow, is this bad right now? Offensively.
Yeah.
You may not even asked about post game. And he's
Yeah,
been
for
saying
the-
the same stuff about it for the most part, like all the little things, but you were looking for more than the little things here. And listen,
Yep.
if I'm going to be honest about what I expected from him, it was much higher than this. It was playmaking. It was a lot more work on the ball, running pick and rolls, which he did fairly well in San Antonio. Ran one good one tonight with Tice, Gum and one. So there's a sprinkles of impact there, but the scoring's non-existent. I mean, 0 points. You don't need more evidence of
Is
it
that
than
bad?
that. And
Is that bad?
the
think
shooting. Listen, if we
Yeah.
were being honest about the shooting, we looked at it coming in and said, all right, he's going to play off Brown and Tatum. He's going to be wide open all the time.
And he
he's
is.
going to go way up. And it's gone way down. It's worse than it was in San Antonio. So it's a slump now
Yeah.
for sure. But he's probably somewhere in that 31, 33 range that he's been in his whole career. And you essentially just have two smart type shooters here.
It's been rough. Watching him out there on the offensive end of the floor. I love everything he does from a defensive standpoint. I love when he kind of locks into being a playmaker. But the shot making has been brutal. I mean, he's shooting he's not even shooting 25%. Coming into this game, he
No.
was shooting with
No,
the
this is gonna
Celtics
bring
like
him down.
24.6% as a Celtic. And on a season, he's shooting just a shade over 30. He's probably a shade below 30 now if you factor in what he did tonight. That's just not going to get it done. It's just not going to work. You're going to win a lot of games in the regular season because there's such a great team defensively. But when you get to the playoffs, you're going to need guys to make shots off your bench. And if you're leaning on Pritchard to be that guy, if you're leaning on Grant Williams to be that guy, that's not going to get it done because those guys they fall a little bit higher on the scouting report pecking order than Derrick White. He's literally the guy that you are begging to shoot. And people often, joke about how Marcus Smart can't make shots, but not even Marcus went through slumps like this.
Marcus hit some big ones tonight.
Marcus was great, but he's playing himself into a smaller role right now. And
White?
we thought for sure that the closing lineup would involve one big White, Smart, and the Jays, right? For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it made sense because you have a guy who's willing to distribute and he's not selfish and he'll give the game what it needs offensively, and he's a lockdown defender, and it just made you get to do your whole switchable thing and have your big presence there.
Fournier comparisons are rolling in.
But there was a lot of reasons to believe that it absolutely was going to go this way, and that's the type of guy he was going to be, right? I mean, that's what we thought. But right now we're looking at 22, 24 minutes. He had a 30-minute game in there, but before that, 20, 26, 28, 22, 20, 20. So, I mean, he's like down, in terms of his overall usage and what he's being trusted to do. And it has to be because they just can't be that offensively deficient.
Well, he's not unplayable because
it's not unplayable.
He's so good defensively.
It's not unplayable, but the lineups there tend to be the ones that go cold, and you can only sustain them for so long. So his stints are smaller and shorter than you would expect them to be.
And you're starting to see teams recognize that, and they are becoming, as you would imagine, a little bit slower to rotating when he has the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that it just kind of junks. It junks up their offense because they can't keep swinging the ball the way they want to because he's the one guy that teams are damn near begging to shoot. And just watching him out there struggle reminds us once again about how much of a lost opportunity we're looking at right now for Nesmith. Because there's a part of me that believes that as he struggles, Nesmith would get 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes to get out there
Fair
and get
point.
into a rhythm. And so
Yeah.
again, this is yet another indictment against their young guys not being ready, whether it's injury, obviously what he's dealing with now, but even when he was healthy, he wasn't making the most of those opportunities to frankly assert himself and get a spot in the regular rotation.
I like that you bring him up.
Well,
They're gonna need a guy
well,
like that to
Yeah,
be in the
gonna
picture.
need him.
yeah, I don't know if he's gonna answer that call.
Josue,
I mean,
if you're
you can always put him out there, but how many times has he actually picked up that phone and delivered?
Who's
I
this?
don't.
Neesmith.
We'll see. I'm not
On a
gonna hold my
game
breath
like
on that
this,
one.
you'd be thinking about it.
Yeah, but I don't see what worried me about White's approach is he was driving to the hoop and he was still coming up short. Like I would like to see him try to find other ways to work, work without the ball in his hand. Get open, get more backdoor cuts, more moves in transition. You see him when he's in transition and like he just wants to get the ball out of his hand. Try to find some momentum offensively. Get a couple layups going. I mean,
Well,
I'm
what
not
was
saying
his
I want
best
him to
stretch?
take. I'm not saying I want him to take 12
First
shots
game
a
of the
game,
season.
but he's got to do better.
His first game with the Celtics was like his best game, basically.
That one was up there, but
That's
I'm
his best
thinking
game.
of
But his first couple of weeks too.
I'm
He had
thinking
a-
of
he
the
had a-
Hawks. I'm thinking of the Hawks game where they started running plays for him, getting him downhill on White, around screens and other things. It's exactly what you talked about, Josue. They run some plays for him, make him more involved. He shouldn't be a corner shooter. Like they're mismanaging him to
I
some
don't think
degree
he's
right
being
now
used
offensively.
great right now. You don't want him off the ball. You don't want him standing around in a catch and shoot position because he's bad
But
at
it's
it.
the balance between him and Brown.
not
And
good
right
enough.
now, I thought especially early in this game, they were really emphasizing getting Brown the ball in his hands, especially with the struggles he's been going through recently and getting him quality looks. And if you're giving White more ball time in that second unit, it's less ball time for Brown. And they're really trying to make Brown a big threat right now in terms of what they're doing, especially with Tatum off the floor when they're blitzing Tatum. So
Have
there's
to.
almost like this. We saw it with Kemba and Brown, and we saw it with Kyrie and Brown. It's sort of this just ball time dilemma that they are having on these second units staggered in, where it's like, all right, do you empower Brown more or do you give the point guard more leeway here? And I think they're sort of caught between those two. I mean, those two put up a 50 offensive rating against Dallas, White and Brown. So neither of them are doing great things with the second unit. And honestly, I think the second unit is a little concerning right now when you see Grant coming back to earth. Tice kind of being in and out of the rotation there. And
I think it
that's
was always
about it.
concerning them. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the thing, Bobby. I think it was always concerning. I mean,
Yeah.
it looked
But
great
shouldn't this
because
guy have solved it, White?
No.
not necessarily. Yeah, he
No.
was supposed to be more of the glue guy, but if you wanted him to be your Fournier or even your Gordon Hayward in sense of his scoring impact, that just wasn't never going to be him. I don't think that was the case when they made the trade.
No,
Listen, everyone's
ahead,
freaking out in the
Bobby.
chat about us being dumb and not seeing the small impact. We all see the smaller
Yeah,
impacts.
we get
here.
it, guys. Jeez, come on.
But listen, the expectations were high.
Come on, guys, it's late. Stop it. Don't get John all mad.
But you gave up something, things that some picks and some assets for a guy who you wanted to come in and be more than what you're seeing now, and he's not. So just what's the big deal? That's
Well, the thing.
That's what we're
the
talking
thing-
about. This is a real
Yeah, I
thing.
mean,
You
the thing that you want to see.
You need things, and he's not providing all of those things right now. So don't just say he's not that guy. Well, then maybe you should have gotten a different guy. That's the point. Is you needed someone to solidify that second unit who could run the second unit offense, who could score points when it was needed, who was consistent. One of the things remarkable about Derrick White was you looked at his box scores, and every single game was 14, 15, 16, 14, 13, 17. He was fairly consistent. He was an efficient player. He's not a great shooter, but he does a lot of other things well. He comes over here and he's a bricklayer. So it's great that he plays defense. We recognize this. We recognize it, but he's killing the offense because he can't freaking shoot right now. You can't be that bad.
Yeah, he's still putting that hard hat on, though. All right, he's still giving you good defense.
You assume he regresses to the mean and it gets back up there, but it's still, you're talking about a career 31% three-point shooter. So you're not going to get that from him. You want to see some of the other stuff more consistently.
Yeah, and when you talk about consistency, the thing I want to see from him, and I don't think this is a big ask, is make at least half of your open shots. I don't think that's asking a lot for an NBA player to make open shots. And that to me is the most frustrating part about Derrick White, is that he's showing an inability to do that at all. Forget about doing it consistently. Like tonight, this was kind of a microcosm of what we've seen the last couple of weeks.
Oh my
Last game
God,
he was
you
2
guys
for
are
10.
killing me
Tonight,
right
0
now
for
in the
8.
chat. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Oh my God.
If this was an L, they would feel a lot differently.
I
Though.
did
That's
miss
the
the
thing.
4 assists. Oh my goodness, he had 4 assists. Like,
If the
fine,
Celtics
guys.
lost tonight, it would be way different. He would get
Sherrod, we're trying to make a point. You're gonna need if you're going to put
Yeah.
him out there, you're gonna swing the ball around. He's gonna be wide open, and there's a shot that he has to take. He has to be able to make them more consistently. He is wide open on these shots, wide open, and he just can't hit them right now. And it's
I would
bad.
just,
It's noticeable,
yeah, I
and
would
it's
just love
costing
if
him
he's,
minutes. Ime sees it.
Yeah.
Ime's playing him less right now, guys. It's not made up in this post game show. It's a
Yeah.
problem. It's an actual
I
problem.
guess what I'm trying to say also is I think it's more likely that we'll see someone like Peyton Pritchard just go on a hot streak or so. And what I mean by a hot streak, I mean like something like this tonight where he just gives you that 8-10 minute quarter that you needed in the second half. It came off the bench, maybe he goes on a streak or whatever you want to call it, and he makes another leap and being that guy that can produce off the bench. I think that happens. We're more likely to see that happen than someone like Neesmith come in and start playing 10, 11 minutes and become somebody that can give you 6, 7 points off the bench. But the fact that someone like Derrick White, that his offense to this point is going to diminish his impact, or not his impact, but his minutes. Like, this shouldn't impact his minutes, and I think the reason that it is because in that third quarter things got a little scary, right? I mean, the Golden State Warriors in 6 minutes cut that lead down to 10, and of course Jordan Poole had a whole lot to do with that. So they needed to counteract that, and I think that's what scares me the most. If when there's another Jordan Poole going off, and someone like Brown is not feeling it, and Tatum's a little cold, you're gonna need someone to come up with offense. You're gonna need some scoring, and I think that's what John's trying to say. Everyone, and that's what White's not giving you right now.
I take it back. It's perfectly fine that White's missed every shot. Perfectly fine. Move on to the next topic. I think it's good for the Celtics that he's missing all these shots. All right, let's move on. My God. It's actually good. It's helping them. It's helping them. If you really know basketball, you know that these missed shots are helping them.
When they get an L, when you see another L and Derrick White's like 1 for 9 that night, they'll know what you're saying. They'll know what you're saying. I'm telling you.
Oh man. Anyway, this is, again, you're nitpicking here and you're looking at it from the White perspective. Fine. Move on to another topic. What do you guys got?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something else about another bench player.
No. I mean, look, it's the reason you talk about things like this is not because you're sitting here trying to find like the one thing that didn't. It's because you're now looking way ahead. You're looking way down the road, into the future, into the playoffs, and thinking, how's this going to work here? You now have bigger hopes, bigger aspirations. You're not taking small moral victories like, okay, a win is good because, they lost the last game and you're playing 500 ball and you're taking anything. Right now you're looking at, how's this going to work? With this team, how good can they be? What's their ceiling? Can they beat good teams when they get to the playoffs? So that's why you look at it, because it has long-term implications. White can't play like this in the playoffs. He can't. It would kill. It would really kill them. It would really be.
In a series.
I just got the number. 23% on wide open threes. So
that's the problem. It's the wide open stuff that's killing you right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's gonna
get you can't be that bad on wide open shots. You just can't.
I think this team as a whole needs to adjust its approach when the threes aren't falling. And he did a good job of that against Detroit, getting downhill, second level drives. White's good at those, but you aren't seeing enough of them. And you're not seeing the aggression in the lane. Again, when they set up the offense for him in that Atlanta game, that's where he really got going. But
I think part of that, I think part of that has to do with the fact of how teams are defending him. Because remember, early on when he came to Boston, he was knocking down shots. He was hitting those open shots. And so teams defended him a certain way that allowed him to beat them off the dribble, get into the lane, and do some work there. But when he's not knocking down open shots, you're going to see him out there as a defender, and your first instinct is to take a step back to give him more space to shoot and dare him to beat you with the jump shot. And that's why I think we're seeing a decrease in him getting to the rim because there's nowhere to go at the rim because defenses are allowing him to shoot. And he's got, like most of the Celtics players, if you're wide open, Ime is not going to discourage you from shooting. And so he has to find a way to start knocking down open shots, even if it means dribble drive into the lane and shoot a long two. I'd much rather him start doing something to get a little bit closer to the rim, even if it's taking a long jumper versus a 3-point shot, which is a shot he's not knocking down at all now.
No, and that's what the reason I pointed out that floater is because now he's in his own head. This is the first night. This was the first night of the whole time you saw his shoulder slump and you saw it actually kind of affecting him a little bit on the defensive end. He was just clearly like, I remember on that, which ball was it that he barely nicked the rim and
the floater.
And no, the other one where Grant got the rebound and put in the dunk.
Yeah. It was a 3, wasn't it?
I think it was a 3 that he just scraped the front of the rim.
Scraped the rim, yeah.
And Grant got it and put it home, and White was like, man, he's like, I'm glad that happened, but oh my God, am I missing that? And then he
flip out, right? Yeah.
Almost airballed the floater from 3 feet. He's in his head right now. So that little floater game and that in-between game, he has that in his bag. That's what he kind of does. He's not a leaper. When he goes to the basket, he's not going to go up, with authority and drive it by people. So that's kind of his game right there. But now he's even thinking about that because I think he's just mentally so consumed by it.
Yeah, and I think we're being tough on him, but it's not emergency lights. Like I think we're honing in on this because it hasn't been talked about a lot, but the other things do make him extremely valuable. And you said it, Josue. He's not in danger of being passed in the rotation and needing to mix it up or you're putting Pritchard over him either because the other stuff still is so strong. I mean, they've gotten even better as a defense. They were excellent as a defense, and they've gotten even better since he arrived, and he's a big part of it. He makes a ton of plays on that end, the charge takes, the steals, even just on ball and switching and all the different kind of stuff there. I tend to agree with this comment here that he'll be fine. That they don't need him to blow it up offensively. You just need more than this. And that's not a reach for him to get to.
That's not a reach. You just need more that you don't need 25 points a game. You just need more than this. That's it. And look,
and you still win a game where he does
the shiny new toy. You got it. You want to see what it can do. First game, and there was a couple of games early where he made an impact in a million different ways, and everyone's like, all right, I got it. You're now talking about a 10-12 game stretch here where the shooting has been so abysmal, it's hard to not talk about it. So again, you hope that it eventually rights itself, but right now it's just rough.
We hope he does, because otherwise in a week or so we're gonna have John over here mentioning the Josh Richardson.
I'm not talking. I wasn't in love with anything that I wasn't in love with.
Yeah, but that extra year on that don't act like
I wasn't in love with Romeo.
Extra year on this contract that the Celtics could flip during the offseason.
Maybe
you got that in your back pocket.
It's not that. My beef has always been, you only have X amount of assets or money or whatever it is to make your moves.
So make sure you get the right guy.
Make sure you get the guy. Okay. So the argument I always put out there is if you had 20 million of cap space this offseason and you're thinking around and you're like, going through your shopping, let's say you'd not made the White trade and you just had 20 million bucks. Is Derrick White the type of player you'd want them to go out and sign? Like, you're better for having him on your team versus not. But if you were looking around the landscape, you might think, I might take that 20 mil. I've only got this. My house needs all these repairs. Like, what am I going to fix? What's the thing I need most? And you might have put it towards something else. That's what you're comparing it to, not to Richardson. He's better defensively than Josh Richardson. I think Josh Richardson's shooting was eventually going to come back down to earth because I don't think he's a 40+% 3-point shooter.
Well,
we're never going to know.
Romeo proved to be useless. First round picks are rolls of the dice, even though it is risky. The problem with trading them is you don't know what else you could have traded them for. So again, you got one shot, you load it up. This is everything you had to make a trade with. You did it. You got this guy. You hope for the best because now that's what you have here. That's it.
The reason I brought up Richardson just real quick is just that not only of what he was doing on the court, but more so of what he meant as an asset, right? That extra year means maybe you could flip him for someone else down the road.
I think people knew.
I thought you would use that one, as sort of a big reason as to, well, why do they believe so much in Derrick White if this thing blows up in their face? Why not use that chip later down the road? That's what I meant by that. Like, in a week or so, if he's still shooting another 20%, that you may use that. But and I'm sure some fans may feel the same way. But right now, I think when the majority of Celtics fans, they like what they see so far from Derrick White. They're not concerned, I guess. Like we should say, they're not concerned.
There's a lot of people who are concerned. There's a lot of people who are like, he'll be fine. I don't know why you think he'll be fine. He's just not a good shooter. I don't think he'll be fine. I think he'll be better. But you know,
I didn't like the Richardson comments, and we got a lot of them when it first happened. That people were gonna miss him. You know, the fans really fell in love with him. I know Sherrod and Joe Sway and we were talking after the Brooklyn game, and they didn't want to trade Richardson. You know, it was right before the deadline there, and I thought you had to maximize his value, and I felt like they did a good job doing it in the deal that they eventually made. But looking at how sparsely San Antonio has used them and how little need they have for a guy like that, you do wonder if you had some stomach as Boston and eat some tax, whether you could have kept Richardson, used salary to get White with the picks, and kept both players.
Yeah,
if you were willing to pay the $11 million or whatever it is in
that's
tax,
what I've been
because
saying, Bobby.
You avoided the tax this year. Now we're talking. Well, I'm talking championship, and you're not a tax-paying team. And is that going to limit you and your ability to contend this year?
That's always been the problem. I think that's a piece of the tax argument that people were ignoring, which was always you either go under or you go over, but you only go over to get that big time player. But what you also would go over to do is not have to basically sell off.
You could have put White into the TP, actually.
Yeah, not to sell off assets. You could have absolutely done that. You could have done lots of things. If Richardson wasn't a valuable chip in that trade and all you needed was money matching, you could have not made the Hernan Gomez deal and had that as your money.
You had the TP, John, so you didn't even need Hernan
you had the
Gomez.
TP. And if you wanted to, and if you could have convinced them that the Richardson part was just money matching and it was moving over there, you could maybe hold on to something that. How much better? Look, put it this way: how much better would you feel about the bench if you had White and Richardson right now? A great deal better,
It'd
right?
be amazing.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like the best bench in basketball.
Phenomenal.
I think Bobby thinks it might be the best bench.